In the book of Romans, the Apostle Paul tells us that we need to think of ourselves with sober judgment. In other words, we need to know ourselves accurately and honestly, not lying to ourselves about who we are, about our strengths, about our weaknesses. But if we want to be mentally, emotionally, and spiritually whole and healthy, we really need to be honest with ourselves. The pastor Paul David Tripp has a quote in one of his books. It's just awesome. He says, basically, I'm paraphrasing, that no other voice in our lives influences us as much as our own voice, because nobody talks to us as much as we do, right? We talk to ourselves all the time. We've all got this inner monologue that's constantly going. We're constantly talking to ourselves and telling ourselves things. And it turns out that we believe what we say. If we tell ourselves we're a loser, you say that enough times to yourself, pretty soon you start to really, truly believe you're a loser. You tell yourself enough that you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and pretty soon you really start to believe that you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. The problem here is that we lie to ourselves. We can't always trust the things that we tell ourselves. These lies come from the culture around us. They come from within ourselves and our own personalities and experiences. A lot of them come from earlier on in life, things that maybe your parents either said to you directly or indirectly told you, siblings, other adult leaders, even other kids, right? We believe these things often when we're kids, especially if we hear them enough. And here we are as adults, and the same old tape is still playing in your head, right? Whatever it was that your old boyfriend told you about yourself, he's not still sitting here whispering in your ear those same lies about you, and yet you believe them. If you still believe them, then it's because you're the one repeating the lies. You bought into it, and now you're telling yourself the same thing. So what do we need to do? We need to catch ourselves in these lies. There's really two main types that we see. There's all kinds of lies we can tell ourselves, but we've got very prideful lies, things like, I don't need anybody else. I can handle this entirely on my own. In fact, I don't even need God. God is for weak people, and I don't want to be weak, so I don't need Him. I can handle all of life and all the struggles and challenges totally on my own. That's a lie. We believe that we are entitled to things. We deserve things, right? I've worked so hard for so long, I deserve this car that I can't really afford. Or life owes me, and we begin to believe these sort of prideful lies that either we've told ourselves or somebody else has told us, maybe television and media have told us, but somewhere along the way we've begun telling ourselves again and again. The opposite end of the spectrum from these prideful lies, we've got shameful lies. And these may in fact be even more common for us, where we tell ourselves not that we're awesome, but that we're a loser. We tell ourselves that we don't deserve love and acceptance like everybody else, that somehow we're internally flawed and broken beyond repair. We say that I can't do anything right? And we tell ourselves that I don't deserve a good relationship or good friendships, and so I'm not going to take the steps to seek those things. Spiritually, we say, I don't deserve God's love. I don't deserve His grace and His mercy. I don't deserve the attention of the people around me. If they only knew what I was really like, they wouldn't accept me, they wouldn't respect me, and so I have to keep quiet about these things. I have to hide my depression or my anxiety. I have to hide my addictions, my sin, the things that I'm broken from that I really need to recover from. So what do we do? What's the answer here? Well, there's really 3 steps that I want you to think about. First of all, you have to recognize the lies, and that's a lot harder at first than it sounds, because often we've been telling ourselves these things for so long that they just seem like the truth, and so we continue to tell ourselves and feed ourselves these things, and they just buzz on by our brain without us even saying, wait a minute, what's that all about? And so we have to learn to recognize them. Often also, they're wrapped up in some partial truths, which makes them hidden even more and harder to recognize. But I promise you, the more you focus on and put time and energy into recognizing these lies, the easier it's going to get for you to recognize them, call them out and say, wait a minute, I know that's not true. So then what do? We can't just recognize them and say, wow, look at all the lies I tell myself. We have to actually challenge them with the truth. So if you're telling yourself, a simple shaming lie like I'm ugly and no one could ever love me, then we have to recognize the lie, and then we have to challenge it with the truth that no, I'm not ugly, and yes, lots of people could and do love me, and be honest about those things. That's not being prideful, that's not being arrogant, that's having sober judgment and applying it to ourselves. The third and final thing, so we recognize the lie, we challenge it with the truth, and then if you're struggling with beating yourself up, just being way too hard on yourself, try this. Try talking to yourself the way that you would talk to a close friend who came to you with these same struggles. You're having coffee with a friend and they're telling you, man, I am just the worst parent in the world. All these other parents are doing all these wonderful, amazing things. I can't even get my kids to talk to me. I have completely failed at parenting. Right? If that's what your friend was telling you, how would you respond? Would you be like, yeah, dude, you're a loser. Wow, you suck. You never should have had kids. No, but that's how we say things to ourselves. How would you approach that friend? Hopefully with some grace, with some mercy, with some empathy and understanding, and then also offering some words of truth to say, look, you're really not seeing this honestly. You're not viewing yourself with sober judgment. Let me be that objective voice that can bring some of that to you. Begin trying, it's very hard at first, but begin trying to speak to yourself in these times where you're beating yourself up with that same voice, with that same approach, the same kinds of kind words and words of grace and forgiveness and understanding that you would have for a friend who was struggling. Bottom line is, we talk to ourselves all the time, and often we lie to ourselves a lot. And those lies are not helping us. They're keeping us deceived. They're keeping us trapped either in pride or in shame or not moving forward mentally, emotionally, or even spiritually. We've got to recognize the lies. We've got to challenge them with the truth. And we've got to learn to speak to ourselves the way that we would speak to a loved and trusted friend, someone that we really cared about. So I hope this is a helpful way to think about this, and I look forward to hearing your comments on this. God bless you guys this week.